So I was having a conversation with my coach on Monday, and we were talking about all of the amazing books that I read and all of the things that I do to improve myself. And she said something to me that made me realize that I had fallen into a trap that many people in the entrepreneurial and personal development space fall into. And it's really interesting because it's so easy to get to this place and not even realize that you're there. And it's so easy to convince yourself that that's the place to stay. I want to tell you what that trap is, how it's not necessarily a bad thing unless you stay there, and ways that we can move you out of that. This week has been a journey for me in that realm of moving myself out of this place. So I can't wait to tell you about that. This is the More Than Corporate podcast, and I'm your host, Amber Fuhriman.
Welcome to the More Than Corporate podcast. I'm Amber Fuhriman, recovering perfectionist and serial accomplisher. If you're anything like I used to be, you've been living your life thinking that if you accomplish enough stuff, you'll finally find the success you've always wanted. But what if it's not about accomplishing more stuff? What if it's about accomplishing the right stuff? I believe you don't find success. You create it by intentionally designing the life you want and having the courage to get out of your comfort zone to live your design. I went from doing what I was supposed to do to doing what I love to do, and now I get to help others do the same. Keep listening as I chat with inspiring people who make it their mission to live their best life every day and learn how you too can live the life you've always wanted.
I want to take just a second to talk to all of you serial accomplishers out there, and you know who you are. Happiness is over the next accomplishment. I just need the wife, the car, the spouse, the career, and then I'll be happy. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it doesn't exist. You will not have the success you're looking for until you take the time to define it. And if you cannot answer the question, what does success mean to you? Then my Design Your Life Mastermind is for you. Spend 12 weeks with me and we will help you create a blueprint to the life that you've always wanted and show you how to execute it. Head over to designyourlife.successdevelopmentsolutions.com for more information. All right, so I'm having a conversation with my coach on Monday, and we're talking about all of the things that are in the pipeline for me, and the course that recently launched, the Draft Your Day course, the Design Your Life Mastermind that's launching in May, and the Vegas retreat that's coming up. And there were all of these things that I was really excited to execute on. And I had spent so much time planning. And it was like stepping out into this execution world felt so freaking uncomfortable. And I'm sure that you can relate. And I was talking to her about some of the books that I had been reading and some of the courses that I had purchased and some of the groups that I had joined and how excited I was to do those. But at some point in time, I realized that I had jumped into so much stuff that everything that I had bought into, everything that I had let myself get involved in was amazing if I took care of it all, if I was able to take 100% from all of it. But I was so eager to soak in information. I was so eager to learn as much as I could that I forgot to actually use it, right? So I have all of these courses that I have and all of these groups that I'm in and the masterminds and amazing connections that I've made. And then my coach said, Amber, I'm afraid that you are spending too much time learning and trying to get something perfect that you're not executing. And here's the most uncomfortable part about this is that we can read all the books that we want. We can take all the courses that we want until we're willing to step out and execute, until we're willing to take that jump, until we're willing to fall on our face, which will inevitably happen. Then we are never going to actually see the rewards of all of the education and learning and growth that we've been putting into ourselves, right? So it needs to be this equal part of learning and executing, reading and implementing, taking courses that have a action step with them as well. You know, I hear people talk about how many books they want to read a year and how many pages they want to read a day. And those are amazing goals, but what's the purpose? If the purpose is just to read 20 pages a day or just to read 50 books a year, what are you actually gaining from that? The power of any course you take, the power of any group you join, the power of any book you read is in the implementation, the execution, the reflection. And this is the part that is incredibly uncomfortable. The part where we're not going to get it right. And this imperfect action can be crippling. So I had found that for so long, I had convinced myself that I was growing. I could convince, and I was, but I had convinced myself I was doing everything that I possibly could to grow. And I was stuck in this learning mindset. And I think that so many of us fall into this because it's the way we're raised, right? We go through school, we learn. We go through high school, we continue to learn. We go to college, we continue to learn. If you go on to grad school, you continue to learn, and it's soaking up all of this information. But how many times in those things that I mentioned do you actually implement and practice what you learn? I know when I graduated from law school, I was told that because I went to a law school that had a hands-on approach, that had clinical requirements, that had labs that were associated with each of the classes and actual courtroom work, that I graduated from law school with more courtroom time than many people who have been practicing for a year. And it's really interesting to me to think that I say all the time, law school didn't really teach me how to be a lawyer. It taught me where to find what I needed from the law. It taught me the intellectual. It taught me how to pass the bar exam. I learned how to be a lawyer from stepping into court and screwing up. I learned how to be a business owner from stepping into my business and doing it wrong, and then learning from that and doing it better the next time. I learned how to be an entrepreneur and how to be a coach from stepping in and saying, oh, wait, I didn't get the results that I wanted. What do I do next to get better results next time? Without the implementation, without the failing, without the imperfect action, we don't grow, we don't move, we don't make progress. So I wanted to bring this up because it was something that was just so important for me to realize. And I wanted to ask you this question. Where have you fallen into the learning mindset, right? Where have you read and soaked up the courses and joined the groups and then not executed? And let me be really clear. I'm not saying don't read. I'm not saying don't take the courses. I'm not saying don't join the groups, because that's an incredibly important part of your growth journey. The people that you surround yourself with are incredibly important in your growth. What I am saying is that it doesn't stop there. You've heard me say in my Tough Mudder episodes, if you've taken any of my courses, you've heard me say this in the comfort zone episode, in the comfort zone modules. When was the last time you did something for the first time? When was the last time you did something that you've never done before? When was the last time you did something that you didn't know you could do? It's really interesting because when I have these conversations and when I think of these topics, I think back to Brene Brown's TED Talks. And she tells this story of talking to individuals about how, in order to have what you want to have, in order to grow, you have to fail. And she tells a story of having this conversation with somebody who says, no, I hear you, I hear you, I hear you. I know that I'm going to risk failing. And she says, if you are going to risk failing, then you're not hearing me. You are going to fail. And that's really interesting because we spend so much time learning in hopes that if we learn enough, we will succeed the first time we try something. And that's not the way it works. It's a combination, it's a harmony between learning and the people that you meet that can help you through, and having that guide that can help you avoid some of the pitfalls that they've had. But you have to take the actions, you have to do it, you have to take the steps. I'm reading right now The Road Less Stupid, and it's an amazing book about how we don't have to do more things. We just have to do less stupid things. And the word stupid, when I first thought about reading this book, I was like, I'm not reading a book that talks about stupidity. Like, that's not going to benefit anyone. But it does, because he makes it a point that really smart people with really high IQs, make really bad decisions and do really stupid things. And we do them because our emotions are involved. So we need to do less stupid things, more smart things. And that's the equation, right? But in this book, he talks about how the person who won the Olympics never won it by reading a book about how to run the fastest marathon. You got to go out there. You got to execute. You got to have imperfect action. And, this is something that, especially in my health journey, I struggle with. You have to be willing to do the things that you've never been willing to do before. You have to be willing to let go of the lifestyle that you have now to have the lifestyle that's going to be better. And you have to believe that it is going to be better, because our minds are going to do everything that it can to keep us comfortable. And comfortable is where you are right now. You guys have heard me say the quote many times, don't give up your peace because chaos is comfortable. But we do that so many times. We give up something that can make our life so much better because we're comfortable in this little zone. And then we learn and we read and we join the groups and we surround ourselves with people and we say, oh, I'm growing. Are you? Ask yourself that question. Have that real heart to heart with yourself. And I'm not even going to pretend that it doesn't suck, because it does. But this is where the personal development comes in. This is where the growth comes in. And this is where surrounding yourself with the right people who will push you to get out of learning mode and into action mode is so important. So I told you in the beginning that we were going to talk about how to make that happen. Surrounding yourself with the right people is so important. Doing something that you've never done before is important. When was the last time you did something for the first time? Do something new every single day. Make it a goal for the next 30 days to do something that you've never done before. It can be going for a walk by yourself. It can be talking to somebody. It can be buying a coffee for somebody. Like, it doesn't have to be big, and it doesn't have to cost a lot of money, and it doesn't have to be extravagant. We can get out of our comfort zone one little small amount at a time. And the more we act and the more we realize that the world didn't end when we didn't succeed, the better we get at imperfect action. And the better we get at imperfect action, the more we grow, the better we become, and the more we succeed. Always remember, guys, you have the ability to design the life that you've always wanted, and you owe it to yourself to get out of your comfort zone and live it. Have a great week.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the More Than Corporate podcast. If anything that was said during this episode resonated with you or provided value in any way, it would mean the world to me if you would head over to iTunes and leave a rating and review for the More Than Corporate podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time to do that. I'm really looking forward to connecting with you. If you'd also like to connect, I've created a Facebook group that is full of amazing people who also make it their mission to live their best life every single day. If that sounds like something that you're interested in, the name of that Facebook group is Success Center. Head over there, request to join, and I look forward to connecting with you soon.